Bubblegum paper. I am here in my craft room and I have a totally different video intro for you today. Here's why. So a little over a month ago, my very good friend June came out to Southern California for a vacation, and I had a chance to spend time with her then 5-year-old, now 6-year-old son Griffin. So happy belated birthday, Griffin. And Griffin is just the cutest, sweetest, smartest little boy. He's so talented too. He single-handedly cooked dinner for 4 adults. We went to this Korean barbecue restaurant and he sat there and grilled all the meat for us. Griffin also happens to be my youngest YouTube viewer. At least I think he's my youngest YouTube viewer. So the other day he was watching one of my card videos and he said to his mom, "How come Auntie Christina doesn't show her face in her videos?" So here's my face. I also decided to make a card for Griffin. This card is, it features some whales, these super cute whales from Lawn Fawn. And when they were out here, they went whale watching down, I think in Dana Point, not once, but twice. So they saw tons and tons and tons of whales, and he just loves whales. So Griffin, this card is for you. I'm also using some fun pirate-themed pattern paper from Echo Park. And I have a ton of other supplies that I will list in the video as I make the card. So, face, card, let's get started. So here are all the products that I'm using. I'm using the Lawn Fawn Will You Be Mine stamps and their scripty sayings. This will be the sentiment in the center of the card. I'm using Hello You. I'm using the Simon Says stamp, stitched rectangles, stitched shapes, and stitched circles. Oh my goodness, that's so hard to say. The Tailored Expression Rolling Clouds, which I'm actually going to use to make water. And a bunch of paper packs from Echo Park. The stripes from Creative Agenda, the wood background from Pirate's Life, and the little red polka dots from Dots and Stripes. The stamping and coloring for this card is super simple, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm stamping the whales, the heart, and the 2 little water spouts. These are so cute. They also come with coordinating dies. And this is one of those mini stamp sets from Lawn Fawn, so if you're not looking to get a full-on set and you just want like a mini set, these are really inexpensive and they're super versatile. So I'm just going to do some super simple Copic coloring. I'm using the warm grays this time. Usually I use the cool grays, but I'm using the warm grays on the whales, and then I'll very quickly color in the heart with some reds and just outline the 2 water spouts. Next, I'll do a little bit of ink blending with Distress Ink. So I'm using Mermaid Lagoon and Salty Ocean. How appropriate to make an ocean. I'm starting with the Mermaid Lagoon, which is slightly lighter, and I'm just doing some really quick ink blending on a piece of scrap paper, scrap cardstock. And the Salty Ocean is a little bit darker, and the paper is actually turned upside down. So where my fingers are, that's actually the top of the ocean, or the top of the waves, I should say. And then there I flipped it around. And since I don't have a wave die, I'm actually going to use the Tailored Expression Rolling Clouds to make my little wavy effect. Lawn Fawn does sell an Ocean Waves border die, but I just don't happen to have it. A cool thing about Distress Inks is they react to water. So I started with a water brush and just tried to splatter some water spots on it, and then you can see how the ink just kind of moves away from where the water is. I switched over to my mini mister, which made it so much easier, so if you're doing this technique, definitely use the little mini mister instead. Now I have my mini ocean. I'm running it through with the circle die first, and then I can line up the edge with the clouds to make my little ocean wave. Then I'm going to use the coordinating dies for all the stamped images and just cut those out. And for the main card base, I'm going to use this wood grain paper. I'm just cutting a stitched rectangle out of that first. And then I'll do the same. I'll cut a stitched rectangle out of the blue diagonal stripe paper from Creative Agenda. Next, I'm taking this single stitched edge. I'm lining it up with the stripes on the diagonal. and that will create just kind of an angled look. And I'm using that to line up the side that will be wooden. Then I'm taking my 2-stitch circles and just creating a frame using the red polka dot paper. And because I want that to pop up a little, I'm cutting 4 more frames out of some heavy white cardstock. That will let me create more of a porthole window in the center of the card. Then I have 1 more circle that I'm going to use for the background and 1 more white card base, which everything will fit on top of. Now excuse my head in this part, but I am just marking off 6 circles that I want to line across the top. So it's about a 1/2 inch down from the top of the paper and 9/16 of an inch in between each of the dots that I'm measuring out. Then I'm going to punch holes using a 1/8 of an inch hole punch, and then I am going to line that up with a wood grain paper. Now the white cardstock is going to serve as a guide, so I make sure I punch all my holes perfectly in the wood grain paper. So I'm putting the wood paper behind the white one, I'm punching the 6 holes, and then I'll move the wood paper to the front of the card. I'll just use some standard adhesive tape runner to hold that in place. Now I'm using these eyelets. They're actually called quicklets, which provide a finishing touch to each of the circles, and it helps reinforce the circle to make sure the paper doesn't rip when I run some rope through it. Now these are special eyelets. You don't need any kind of tool for this other than a standard ballpoint pen. So I put each of the eyelets through the holes, and now I'm taking a very, very cheap ballpoint pen. This is a free one from a hotel, and I'm just running the tip of the pen through the circle. Here, I'll zoom in so you can see I'm running it so that the metal splits up, and then I use the back of the pen to smush it down. And it's very soft metal, so you don't need to be strong at all to do this. And sorry, it goes out of focus a little. Here's how it looks. Now I'm going to take some rope that I got at Michael's. This is the Recollections brand. I'm just cutting a piece of rope. This rope comes with 3 strings all kind of wound together, and it's a little too thick to go through the holes. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 1 strand off, and I'm left with 2 strands. I don't know what this equivalent would be. It's almost like, I want to say 2-ply, like 2-ply toilet paper or tissues. I'm sure maybe it's just 2 strands. Anyways, the 2-ply equivalent of the string, I'm going to take that and recurl it so that it feels like rope. And then I'm going to take a piece of washi tape and put it on the edge of the string, almost like a shoelace. So it creates an easier way for me to pull the string through all of the holes. And I'm just stringing the rope through each of the holes back and forth, nothing fancy. And once I get to the end, I want to finish it off with a knot. So here's where I tried to get clever. I remember growing up in New England, in Cape Cod and Mystic Seaport, there were all these fancy sailor knots that you could learn how to tie, or sailing knots you could learn how to tie. So I Googled sailing knots, and some of them were super complex looking, so I went with a standard figure 8 knot, which still took me a long time to tie, but eventually I got it. So you kind of run it over and flip it through, and it almost looks like an infinity sign / figure 8. And then you run it through. Once I get to the end, I trim off the edges. Here I trimmed it off a little too close. I would leave at least 1 inch or 1.5 inches of slack on either side to make it easier to glue back, but I forgot to do that. Then I'll glue down the blue diagonal paper, and I'll take all the portholes I cut out, and I'm using my Zig glue pen. I'm just gluing all of the white layers together first, and I'll finish it with the red circle on top. Then I'm going to take my ocean wave and glue that to the main circle card base, and then glue everything together. So that's my ocean scene. I'm using foam adhesive to adhere the whales in place, and then I'm putting the heart on some foam adhesive as well. The 2 water spouts I'm going to place above the whales just using regular tape. I'm going to glue that to the center of the card. And the last thing I'm going to do is take some of this Sook Wang, I think or score tape, and it's a super, super strong tape. Now, if you had cut a little more slack on the end of each of the ropes, you probably wouldn't need this super strong tape. You could probably use just a glue dot or something, but I'm using the super strong tape so it doesn't slip, and I'm putting one layer down under the rope first, and then I'm putting a second layer on top of the rope, and I'll finish the whole thing off with the foam adhesive. I'm only putting the foam adhesive along the edges because, and the reason why I'm using foam adhesive is because the rope is a little bit thicker and I want the card to still lay flat when it's placed on the main card base. So I'm just going to go through and line all of the foam adhesive around the entire card. Next, I have my standard A2 card base, and I'm stamping the sentiment Hello You with some navy ink. And then I'm going to use Wink of Stella on the whales, and then I'm also going to use glossy accents on the heart. So glossy accents, when it dries, turns any piece into an enamel style embellishment. And it's super shiny and it gives a raised effect. The last thing I'm going to do is peel off all that foam adhesive and adhere that to my card base. Here is the finished card. You can see the glossy accents shining. I also have a couple close-up shots. Griffin, I hope you like this card, and I can't wait for your next visit to Southern California. Thank you all so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel for more card making videos. Here are 2 recent videos I made. You can just click on them from your computer. You can find me on social media at Bubblegum Paper or visit my blog bubblegumpaper.com for more project ideas. Thanks again, and catch you next time. Bye!